जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
रसिक हो नमस्कार. सहर्ष सादर करीत आहोत ज्ञानसाधना गीत. कवी प्राध्यापक प्रवीण दवणे, संगीत विनय राजवाडे.
शिवाचे मंदिर सुंदर मानव्याचा ध्यास निरंतर सत्य शिवाचे मंदिर सुंदर मानव्याचा ध्यास निरंतर गुरु शिष्याच्या नात्यामधली प्रतस्थ मन साधना सदैव उजळो आपुली ज्ञान साधना ज्ञान साधना. अज्ञानाचा तमः सारुण विश्वात्मक स्वर येई उजळून अज्ञानाचा तमः सारुण विश्वात्मक स्वर येई उजळून शूरवीर संतांचे पूजन जागविते चेतना ज्ञान ज्योतीने
The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. A very good morning to one and all. I, Ms. Sawant, welcome you on the third day of our Investment Awareness Week. It's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of this knowledgeable and amazing week. Yesterday, we learned about mutual funds, its pros and cons, and various investment techniques. I know you all are excited for today's session, as today we are going to acquire knowledge of real estate investment. Our speaker for the day is Vishal Ahuja sir. Mr. Ahuja is the head of Private Health Group for JLL India. He has 17 years of real estate experience dealing in multiple asset classes, mainly commercial real estate with clients from global and Indian real estate funds, family offices, HNIs, developers and corporates. At JLL, he has been involved in various facets like standalone building sales, forward sale transactions, strata sales in building, capital raising and commercial funds, etc. Apart from this, he is single point of contact and the key transaction advisor for the Citibank trade and was the front runner in IDBI trade as well. During his 13-year stint, he was very successful in driving revenue growth and comparing a significant market share. Friends, he has got the best information to share with us about real estate. So, I now request Vishal sir to enlighten us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible, host? Can you just confirm that? Okay, so thank you for inviting me for this session. Really appreciate it. I want to thank the entire institute for completing 40 glorious years. Commendable work by Shri Satish Pradhan, Mr. Pradhan, the entire faculty, the staff, and of course the students for being a part of this esteemed institution. 40 years is no mean task, and hats off to all of you all to kind of create this institution over a period of time. Thank you once again for inviting me. I just want to basically today, the kind of topic will be real estate investments, and broadly I want to start off with what exactly is real estate, what are the various facets of real estate, and what could one basically be aware about, and then come to the deep diving on the investment sales side of business. The thought behind this is to make the students aware that, what are the kind of, let's say, areas of or opportunities which are there on the real estate side, which one could watch out for. And I'll try to enlighten you all with as much as possible. I hope you find the session or maybe fruitful. Thank you. Can we have the slide, please? Yeah. Could you move to the next slide? So what is real estate? Next slide, please. Okay, so the purpose of showing you this slide is to just maybe just tell you that this is not a brick and mortar game no more. It used to be a standard building with basic specifications, but there is a lot of technology and thought which goes behind it. For example, most of the buildings today are green buildings, which means they are energy efficient and environment friendly. That's a need of the hour today. It also helps in reduction of carbon emissions. To give you another example, internally within the office, many times we have sensors, which means that the energy consumption is restricted for the areas which are being occupied only and not for the entire floor. So all of these things, it's our moral obligation and duty towards the environment to kind of save energy and also make it as a greener planet for us and the generations to come. These are the different basically asset classes which we will be talking about in the next slides, which is office, residential, warehousing, and maybe, retail to a certain extent. Next slide, please. So I take myself to be lucky to be a part of this industry, which helps contribute, to all the sectors. It's an important aspect to grow the economy, today, whether you are in any industry, like let's say a pharma, or maybe a warehousing or medical science, whichever stream that you choose, real estate is bound to be there. So it helps basically grow all the kind of sectors collectively. And we as JLL therefore feel proud to contribute to the society. And hence our tagline of we shape the future of real estate for a better world. Next slide, please. In the course of the presentation, I'm going to be sharing a few facts and figures for your understanding. And this one is quite an eye-opener that the size of the real estate sector stands at $280 trillion. And that's quite a number to watch out for. It will be one of the top 3 sectors globally, I would think. And that's the kind of scale at which the industry is operating. Next slide, please. So what really forms a part of real estate? It could be residential developments, it could be commercial, warehousing, retail, or maybe the upcoming sectors like data centers. Today, we'll deep dive into the most prominent sectors where I'll try to elaborate on the nature of these transactions and maybe the nitty-gritties involved in each of these asset classes. While the theme of today's presentation will revolve around investment sales, I would like to speak about a broad level sector-specific points as well, so you get a broad level idea of what exactly is the industry all about. Next, please. All right, so let's start with commercial real estate. Move on. Yeah. So when you see the slide, do you find it to be similar offices? Are these 2 similar offices, or do you think there is a difference between them? So just to elaborate, it may seem like there are these 2 offices are similar in nature, but the one on the left is a conventional office, which any individual or a corporate may buy or lease, whereas the other one on the right is a co-working setup. So what exactly is a co-working setup? A co-working setup or a service office setup is a place which is offered as a fully fitted out setup to the tenants, but is professionally managed by these large organizations. There are multiple companies operating from one single office. It's not dedicated to a single office. So let's say an office has 100 seats. Somebody can occupy 10 seats, somebody can occupy 5 seats, and collectively it could be managed by a professional setup. So why the need for a co-working setup? Because many clients do not want to get into the hassles of getting the interiors done, managing the property. Hence, they go for this kind of arrangement. Just to kind of put it in simpler words, many of you all may be living in hostels where you share the rooms with others. It's similar to that on the office side. When you don't wish to rent out a full office for yourself, the companies choose to go for co-working setups. And this could be helpful for a large organization or for a smaller space, startups, etc. Next slide, please. Great. So what exactly, who's the largest player in the co-working sector? It's WeWork. We all must have heard this name. WeWork was founded in 2010 by Adam Neumann. They have 800 plus locations globally in over 120 cities globally. 120 cities across the world, 800 plus locations. Just think about the scale. And they grew rapidly. In India, WeWork has entered the country with Embassy. Embassy is one of the largest developers, and it's a tie-up with Embassy for India. Globally, they were basically supposed to go for an IPO, which they withdrew later because they got some flack as well. There was some negative press around the company, and that's why it had to back down. But having said that, this was an idea conceptualized by Adam Neumann, and today there'll be more than 300-400 companies in this space. Next slide, please. So the point I want to make is that, one has to be keeping their eyes and ears open and watch out for the opportunities which might be coming up, and, keep a tab on which are the sectors which are growing, and maybe, kind of think about it from the career perspective. Also, you guys are at a critical stage or juncture of your life. And that's the whole purpose of elaborating that how this entire industry shaped up. This slide talks about which are the prominent players, who are the people who are operating in this particular sector. And what's the kind of demand for this particular space? So if you see on the right hand side, we're talking about 4.4 million square feet being occupied by co-working players today. 44 lakh square feet, humongous. So that's the kind of scale at which this industry is operating. Next slide, please. If we talk about the overall breakup, this just gives you an idea of that how's the kind of acceptance to this kind of co-working setup and how large companies also adopted. Microsoft was really the first large organization to integrate their office space into the co-working setup way back in 2016. And they moved several of their teams to WeWork across the world. And then, of course, there are other several Fortune 500 companies like Facebook, Bank of America, Salesforce, HSBC, so on and so forth, who moved to this kind of a setup. When you do a cost comparison, it comes out to be really economical at times. And also, like I said, it saves you the hassles of doing the entire interior fit outs, managing the entire thing. Here, everything is done by the owners of the co-working players. There are a lot of startups. I'll just kind of stay on that slide for 1 second. There are a lot of startups which do not want to do the investment in fit outs, and hence they also prefer co-working setups. Next slide, please. Cool. So if you talk about the trends on the commercial side, what are the things which are existence today? We are talking about co-working, we are talking about the new age developments, the green buildings, environment-friendly buildings. And of course, the trend which is changing is that we are getting a lot of institutional landlords or developers. Gone are the days where it used to be a typical developer mentality or a thought process. Today, if you look at the quality of the developers, it's substantially changed. It's chalk and cheese. You could, kind of, if to just to name a few, there'll be many more, but just to name a few, there'll be L&T, Godrej, the likes of Ahuja. All of these are operating in a very institutional manner. All the Bangalore developers, Embassy, RMC, they really have large portfolios and have a professional setup. Next slide, please. All right, so what's the commercial stock like? I just don't want to basically spend too much time on this one, but if you look at all the geographies or all the micro markets within the city, it's well spread out. And what determines the kind of space take-up is the availability, and along with that, the rental and the capital values which are prevalent in each location. If you look at the total split of the entire stock, it comes to about 115 million square feet commercial stock, which is available in Mumbai. Next slide, please. Okay, so our main subject, what is investment sales? Yeah, let's stay on this slide for a minute. So, no, next one. Yeah, thank you. So what is investment sales? It's basically, what we basically refer to investment sales is also a private wealth group. So the concept of identifying solutions for any investor looking to park money into real estate is broadly referred to as investment sales. Assuming an investor has 100 crores, which they would like to invest in various asset classes like equity, it could be fixed income products, gold, real estate. So the entire thing basically could be a part of investment for the individual or a corporate. Just to kind of touch upon equity, let's say everybody is aware about it, that today everybody is keeping a track on the stock market. It's at an all-time high. Maybe we'll be touching 50,000 very soon. And the Nifty is an all-time high. Unbelievable. It's peaked from March 2020 when the Sensex was at a low of around 25 or 26,000 Sensex. And today it's touching 50,000. So that's the kind of number that we are talking about. Fixed income, when you want stability in your returns, you will rely more on fixed deposits, bonds, where the returns are measured, but they offer a safer avenue of return. Gold, Indians love gold. This could be, the investment could be in the physical or on the online format. People in India love gold, and that's one way to kind of have a maybe income kind of growth or stability for your future generations as well. Real estate, historically, I would think that all investors into real estate have made money, not just because I'm a part of the real estate industry, but I mean it. I don't say it for some investments which are done on the residential side, which are still under construction, not being completed, but more so which are sensible investments in good quality products. People have made money. And this continues to be one of the favorite asset classes for the investors. So when somebody looks at investing a particular amount, they may choose to spread it over all of these asset classes. And that's how the decisions are made on the investment side. On the real estate side, of course, it's a bit of a illiquid form of an investment, and hence one has to be prepared that you have to be staying there for a while, and also the exit might take longer as compared to equity. There's a famous quote by Andrew Carnegie saying that 90% of all millionaires become so through the owning real estate. More money has been made in real estate than in all industrial investments combined. And of course, the wise, young, or wage earner of today invest money in real estate. It could be a small investment, it could be a larger investment, but investments in real estate always give returns over a period of time. That's the kind of thought process behind this. Investment sales today is a very deep subject where we're talking about acquisition, divestment, disposition of assets for an investor. The investments could be in various asset classes like office, warehousing, and retail. Next slide, please. Yeah. So who exactly is our target audience for basically investment sales? It could be HNI, it could be any individual like you and me who has surplus cash, and they are kind of looking at investing on either maybe office, warehousing. It could be a small investment on the residential side. So that's the HNIs, high net worth individuals. Family offices. What exactly is family offices, you may ask? So these are the professional setups created by a large business community, people, industrialists, to professionally manage their investments or wealth. Typically, what they will look at is at investments which give them a fixed or a growing annuity return. This is to safeguard them from the ups and downs of their business lines and offer them a steady return with the intent to pass on for their future generations. Just think about it that today the likes of, let's say, Godrej or a Hero or a HCL, all these are Indian companies, Indian promoters, and they are doing very well in their respective business lines. So what they do is a percentage of their profits, they park it for their individual investments. And since they do not have the time and the energy, they have professional setups who manage their money. So that's the kind of concept of family office broadly. Family offices have large appetite and they look at sizable opportunities. The next one is insurance company. Insurance companies do invest in real estate. By virtue of IRDA guidelines, they can invest a small portion of their entire corpus in real estate. Insurance companies also act as fund managers where they raise capital on behalf of their clients and deploy in real estate. There are many large insurance companies who have a substantial presence into real estate. One of the names which I can think of is Nippon. Nippon would have overall assets under management upwards of $5 billion. So that's the kind of scale at which they operate. Next is fund houses. There are domestic and international funds. Domestic funds could be Godrej, Kotak, and there are many more on the domestic side. They all have active interests on real estate. International funds like Blackstone, Brookfield, GIC are some of the topmost players in the real estate industry. Just to give you all an idea that everybody knows Hiranandani Business Park in Powai. And that's the entire commercial portfolio in Hiranandani would be about 5.5 million square feet. About 3-4 years back, Hiranandani sold the entire commercial portfolio to Brookfield. So today, Brookfield is the owner of the entire commercial portfolio at Powai. And that transaction was structured at about 6,500 crore rupees. So that's the appetite which these guys have. And they're constantly scouting for opportunities on real estate side. Blackstone, many of the people would have heard. It's one of the largest funds globally. They also have large assets. Today, JLL's office is in BKC, 1 BKC. This building is owned by Blackstone. And I'm just trying to give you all some kind of names so that you can relate to it. So what's the types of funds and how's their source of capital? I'll just elaborate on that. So a couple of types of funds. The first one could be sovereign fund. What is a sovereign fund? Sovereign fund is basically the place where the money is deployed by the government. So for example, Singapore government has a sovereign fund. GIC is one of them. UAE government has a couple of sovereign funds. They invest into real estate, and this is their government money. So they prefer to invest in safer avenues as well. Next comes pension funds. So all the money which is collected by international pension agencies, they also deploy a part of their investments into real estate. And today there are the likes of Canadian pension funds, CPPIB, etc. They are big time investing on the real estate side. Then there are the third-party funds, of course. And in this form of funds, the money is raised from large HNIs pooled in a common vehicle, and it's used to buy real estate across the globe. So there are these professional fund managers who manage the entire transaction from pin to piano, right from fundraising to deployment and till exit. In return, they charge an asset management fee for their services. So from our perspective, we work very closely with the funds to identify the real estate opportunities and offer them the right solutions. So for example, HNI could be comfortable looking at 20-25 crore investment size. Family office could look at 50 crore upwards. A fund would look at a full building. So that's the kind of, let's say, requirements which one could look at. Let's just give you a simple example that today person wants to invest 10 crores. What's the kind of returns which one could expect? So the returns for commercial could be in the range of, let's say, broadly at about 8%. And if you compare it with residential returns were just at about 2%. So that's the delta which one had to look at. And that's why today there's a growing interest on the commercial side. So if you're investing, let's say, a 10 crore rupees, you get 80 lakh rupees as your annual return. This is significantly higher than what anybody could get on the residential side. And the same could be the return, maybe marginally more on the warehousing side. So on the return side, this is what we are targeting for the investors. Next slide, please. Okay, so we spoke about the target audience, and now let's speak about the asset classes. So office continues to be the flavor of the day, where most of the corporates are very keen to look at office opportunities. Office, broadly, India has a total stock of 500 million square feet grade A stock. Out of this entire stock, maybe, only about 10 to 12% is vacant, which means that roughly about 400 million square feet of office space is occupied. When you analyze these numbers, this is a brilliant opportunity for any investor, as office offers good returns and for a longer duration. In spite of the pandemic and in the lockdown period, office was not impacted to a great extent as corporates continued to pay rent with maybe a marginal request for deferment. This was not the case in retail. Retail had a lot of concerns, problems, because a lot of people came back asking for rent revision, reduction. And that's why investors continue to be very bullish on the office side. Combined with that, the India story continues to remain very strong, wherein we are witnessing a lot of demand, tremendous demand from the MNCs and Indian corporates to have their presence in the country. So how will they have their presence? By having their office space. And that's why, the office comes in demand. Broadly, which are the sectors which are prevalent on the office side, or which are the sectors which are taking space actively on the office side? It's BFSI, banking, financial services, insurance, IT, ITES industries, co-working players, which I just spoke about, and of course, global in-house centers. Global in-house centers, these are the large development centers with the likes of Google, Amazon, they might have, and just to share with you, all of these companies, the second largest setup outside of the US is in India. So there is a good demand from GICs to have their presence in the country. Looking at the potential, and of course, the interest levels in office continue to rise exponentially. And of course, the situation is such that the demand is much more than the supply. To give you all a perspective, there is, let's say, if there is a good asset which is introduced, there will be 5 investors chasing one asset. 5 investors chasing one asset. So that's the demand of, maybe the commercial pre-leased office spaces. What they are looking at is not vacant, but pre-leased office spaces, which means that the office has to be occupied and the investors need to start getting the returns right on day one. Let's come to warehousing. Warehousing, again, we've seen a surge in the warehousing demand. This is mainly from e-commerce companies, pharma, logistics. In the pandemic, in the lockdown period, we all saw a change in our shopping habits. We all started to use online for each and everything, may it be shopping, may it be grocery, for the smallest of things like pharmacy, everything was available at a click of a button. So that led to a surge in demand for warehousing. Everybody is looking at large warehousing spaces. And typically what happens in a warehouse is that it's a very different ballgame where every company has their unique requirements. And that's why it's customized to the client's requirements or the tenant's requirements. It's built to suit as per the requirement. So that's why these transactions do take time, but they are for a longer duration. Next slide, please. I don't want to touch more on retail, but sorry, if you can just go back to one slide, this previous slide. Yeah, so everybody is from Thane. I'll just take an example that typically in retail, malls are not sold. They should not be sold. Otherwise, the maintenance and upkeep and which are the shops which are next to you, you may never realize. And that's why the malls never work, which are sold. You all are the colleges in Thane. Everybody knows Eternity Mall. Today, you know what's the condition of that mall. And the single reason being that they sold all the units. So that's why it's not a successful mall. It's not even a mall, it's a shopping center, or it's more of an office building in today's times. So that's why retail, generally the places should not be sold. What the focus should be maybe is on the high street retail, which is the likes of your established locations like in Thane, Naupada, Ramarthi Road, or your linking road in Bandra, Kolaba Causeway. These are the locations which could be focused from the investment sales perspective. Next slide, please. Cool. So the most important slide is what exactly do we do on the investment sales side? So there are various parameters which one basically focuses on. Traditional sale. I just spoke about how HNIs look at their requirements. Today, if you have, let's say, 5 to 10 crores, 15, 25, 50 crores, whatever your appetite is, you all come to us. We identify the spaces basis on various parameters of the quality of the building, on the tenant profile, the returns which the space offers. Those are the things which are kept into consideration. And then, of course, the options are identified and the transaction structured. I'm making it sound very simple, but it's a far more complex procedure because of the entire documentation, due diligence process, and various other parameters which are involved. But that forms a part of the traditional sale. Fractional ownership. So this is a new concept which has come to the country. Today, let's say there are fractional ownership companies who buy an asset worth 50 crores. 50 crore asset, they do not basically want to kind of, or they don't have the funds to kind of buy it themselves. So what they do is they will enter into a LOI or a MOU to kind of maybe buy that unit. And in return, they will put it up on their platform, on their website, or maybe start publicizing the entire thing for retail investors to come and participate. So investors like you and me, any other individual can come in by investing 25 lakh rupees and be a owner of that property. So collectively, a pool of people, let's say 100 people come together and buy that particular unit. That concept is called as fractional ownership. Now you might say, why should I go for a fractional ownership? I would like to own the asset. So what happens is today, let's say you have a couple of crores to invest, 2 crores, 3 crores, even 5 crores. I may not be able to give you the right opportunity for these investment quantums. What I'll be able to give you as a standalone option may be upwards of 10 crores. So that's why a fractional ownership company identified this gap. What they said is that we are buying an asset in a prime location, let's say in a BKC of 50 crores, and you all get the ownership of that unit. So you are a shareholder in that particular company which owns that particular unit. That's how the concept works. You start getting returns right from day one. And of course, they charge a asset management fee. At the end of a particular period, maybe 3 years, 5 years, they see the opportunity to kind of divest, and the entire money is returned to you with the profit. So that's the concept of fractional ownership. Fractional ownership company or companies are basically few in number. It's a new concept. It's just about 5 years old in the country, and they might have deployed about 500 crores so far. But having said that, there is a tremendous response for this particular opportunity. Next, we come to forward sale. What exactly is forward sale? Forward sale today, let's say if a developer is constructing a commercial building and they want to sell it at the ground stage only, that transaction will be called as a forward sale. You're doing a sale today for a building which will be constructed tomorrow. So it's called as a forward sale. What happens typically is that the developer is keen to identify a owner. He doesn't want to retain the ownership. So that's one, that's a driver for the developer. Number two is that all the developers need money to construct. They need construction finance, which they raise it from banks and BFCs. And that's something which they kind of rely on. So when we basically talk about forward sales, these are the kind of points which are kept into consideration. Developer feels comfortable to kind of do these transactions because it saves on the high interest cost charged by NBFCs. And the investor, probably he gets a benefit of the rate because the building is under construction. So that's the concept of a forward sale. Fundraising is really another important or an interesting parameter which we are focusing on. Today, there are a lot of funds. I spoke about Blackstone. Blackstone may not have their own money. They raise the money from large HNIs, and basically we also kind of partner with them to raise this money from individual investors. To take an example, many companies, many domestic funds like ASK, ICICI Prudential, and many more have in the past raised funds. And what they do is simply go to the retail investors. They put up a minimum quantum that, let's say, you can invest 1 crore rupees. And we will pull it together, form a corpus of 500 crores, and then invest. So that's the concept of fundraising. We are working very actively with for fundraising proposals on the office side or maybe on the warehousing side as well. Next slide, please. All right, so retail. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but what are the trends? Online sales, as I spoke, they are expected to increase globally from 11% to 22%. Malls will have more larger community spaces and experience centers. They would come there to enjoy. Today's times, it's a concrete jungle. So people want some spaces, some open spaces where they can just really roam about or kids could play. So those are the criteria coming up on the retail side. Conversion of defunct malls, Eternity. I just took an example of Eternity. So Eternity is, let's say, if all the owners come together and they are willing to partner with a developer, then it means that it could be converted again back to a new mall or some kind of retrofitting could be done. And of course, there are multiplex operators and various other people who will be kind of gaining momentum in the period on the times to come. Today, it's a setback for them. Next slide, please. All right. So, did you know that JLL has helped, open 300 plus multiplex screens across the country? That's a substantial number. Every multiplex will have max 4 to 5 screens, and we've helped open 300 screens across the country. I just thought that, I'll share this kind of statistics with you that This is the kind of, let's say, reach that we have with all the multiplex operators. Next slide. All right, so on the capital markets and land, yes, please, next slide. Cool. So, there is an expectation for a higher return, especially in the pandemic. Many people, while I'm sounding very bullish, but many people burned their money as well. There were monies which were stuck. Many people could not get the possession of their apartments or various other investment that they did because the laborers migrated and various other issues which one faced. So that's why there will be basically an expectation of a higher return because they know that there is a higher risk involved as well in this entire proposal. There will be a high effect of cost of financing on investors, which means that today, let's say if they have to, the developers have to finish their products, they have to take on higher quantums of money from the banks, from the NBFCs. And that's not a healthy market to be in because you get crippled in debt. So that's something to watch out for. There are a lot of unfinished products which are yet to be completed. Maharashtra government is helping in a lot of ways. We all read about the stamp duty benefits. The interest rates are at an all-time low. Plus, of course, the premiums. The premiums are cut by 50% for this year. So all these things will definitely help the developers to kind of complete their projects and give them a kind of product back to the investor. Cross-border, what's cross-border? It's international money coming to India. So that's something which we continue or we will basically see more of money coming to the country for real estate sector. Institutional funds continue to kind of have a bullish outlook for the future, and that's something which we will be witnessing in the times to come. Next slide, please. All right, so some statistics. So we've done these landmark transactions over a period of time. The Godrej transaction, basically, there was the Homi Baba bungalow which Godrej acquired. Ajay Piramal was the second highest bidder, 372 crores. This was done by us way back, I think, in 2014. Then, of course, the Piramal's bungalow today, many people must be aware. It used to be Hindustan Lever's, premise Gulita. So Piramal's acquired this for about 450 crores. So that's another remarkable transaction done by JLL. Next slide, please. And of course, on the investment side, the country's most expensive transaction, which was done in 2018, this was for 2,400 crores by Mapletree. Imagine 2,400 crores being pumped in as a single check for one single asset. This was again the transaction done by us. And of course, Shapoorji Alliance. Alliance is a German company. So there is a JV between Shapoorji and Alliance in the country. They acquired Hyderabad's Waverock entire development. This was again done in 2018, but closed, 18, but closed in 19. Yeah. So the idea is that these transactions are all valued at 1,800 crores, 2,400 crores, which means that there is a lot of bullish interest for the country, and many people are keenly eyeing opportunities on the real estate side. Next slide. Yeah. So on the industrial side, what exactly are we talking about for supply chain and various other things? So there is supply chain and logistics, which everybody is aware about. Logistics is 3PL solutions, which any company provides. It's not just about warehousing, but also transportation and deliveries, everything that is taken over as a contract by 3PL companies. There is industrial capital markets. So all of these institutions, when they want to deploy money in the country on the warehousing side, that forms a part of industrial capital markets. And of course, industrial transaction advisory. Simply put, these are brokerage transactions on the industrial side or on the warehousing side. Today, there is a lot of demand on setting up factories. If you go towards, let's say, closer home, if you go towards Pune. There's a place called Chakan where you have Tata Motors, Mercedes, and various other automobile companies and various sectors who are operating from there. So that's the area which is active for us. We are working with various organizations to help set up the kind of entire factories in these places. Warehousing, Bhiwandi, that's one of the most active area today in the country. And transaction sizes of as small as 50,000 square feet and going up to 400, 500,000 square feet. These are all structured by us. Some of the large e-commerce companies, I can't name some of them, but I'm sure you can understand. They are all our clients. We are working with them very actively for their growth prospects. Some of the large pharma companies continue to be our clients, and on the various industrial products as well. Next one. All right, so this is an elaboration of what I just spoke, which is on the warehousing side, what all do we do, manufacturing side. Land, simply put, if somebody wants to acquire the land and do the entire construction themselves, they don't want the developer to do it, then that's a form of the land transaction. Investment sales on the warehousing side or industrial side. Then, of course, there's debt advisory. Debt advisory is simply put, if any fund wants to buy, then they don't have their own money, like I said. So we help them raise the funds as well. That forms a part of debt advisory. Next slide, please. So what are the trends on the warehousing side? This entire pandemic situation has led to a fast forward in time for industrial and warehousing. The trends which were forecasted for near future were seen when nobody was even prepared for it. COVID has, created kind of a havoc in the real estate market side. Nobody anticipated such a demand, and that's something which we are witnessing right now. Players like, let's say, a Big Basket, Pharmacy, Farm Easy Company, which is more on medicine side, Grofers, Amazon, all of these want to increase their presence in the country. And, the fear of maybe touch or crowding up of places insinuated people to go all the way on the online, community. The demand of end users has led to a surge in demand for the in-city warehouses, and that's something which we are kind of focusing on today, not just Bhiwandi, but maybe in the city as well. The aim for all of these companies, just scroll, sorry, 1 second. The aim for all of these companies is that, they would like to kind of deliver the products at the earliest. Let's say Amazon's aim is to give you, let's say if you order a mobile phone, they want to give that to you in the next 1 hour. So for that, you need an in-city warehouse, and which means that we are scouting for places closer to each of the residential pockets to meet all of these requirements. Next one, please. All right, so just to kind of share with you that JLL has been involved in warehousing transactions for various e-commerce giants. And today, many of these, when you order many of these warehousing addresses that you get, probably are the transactions which are done by JLL. Next slide. Okay, cool. So before I wind up my entire presentation and leave the floor open for question and answers, I just want to leave you all with a few thoughts that that today the world is changing rapidly, and by virtue of which our existing knowledge gets depreciated by 20% year on year. 20% depreciation year on year if we don't update our knowledge. And that's why it's important to stay connected and upgrade ourselves. The reason I bring this up is you all are at a critical juncture of your life. You all are entering your careers very soon. And keep an eye out. Don't be stagnant. Don't be complacent. Keep watching out for new trends. Somebody identified a need for co-working and they came out with WeWork, and then the others followed suit. You all could be the next people who would basically, be on those lines of Adam Newman. It could be the next Tesla, and it could be the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. So that's something I'm just leaving that thought with you. Push your boundaries today. Push your boundaries today for a better tomorrow. Don't be complacent at all. Just try and kind of push yourself to reach higher limits. And of course, the most important point is passion comes before revenue. So accordingly, do what you're passionate about, and the money will follow. Thank you. Thank you very much. I leave the floor open for.
Thank you so much, sir, for your informative session. Sir, we have some questions that are lined up for you. So my first question to you is, in host of available investment avenues, why should a student should look towards a real estate as an investment opportunities?
So it depends on the criteria for individual to individual. I think today that probably there are different schools of thoughts, but real estate offers you a lot of stability. Today, in a place like Mumbai or any other place, owning or having an asset of your own gives you a lot of comfort from the long-term perspective. That doesn't mean that you stretch yourself. It has to be well planned off because, like I said in the previous slide, that you should not be over leveraged. Don't take too much of loans because that disturbs your career. So that's why if you are able to, you should do it. And in the long run, it definitely gives you a good return.
Thank you, sir. So my next question to you is it really wise for a student to take a home loan and invest in real estate?
It depends on how would you service the loan, right? Because today you take a loan of 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs, whatever the amount is, then you have to be planning that how will you service that loan? There will be EMI of, let's say, 50,000 rupees a month. How will you service that? So if you have a proper plan in place, and if you've started to work, let's say if somebody is doing a part-time job, you have some kind of your returns avenues which you're making, there is some salary income which is coming to you, then you should definitely think about it. But otherwise, don't over leverage yourself. Wait for the right time and for the right opportunity.
Okay, sir. So my next question to you is it true that real estate investment is only for celebrities, businessmen, sportsmen who earn lots of money?
Not at all. There are so many, kind of people like you and me who invest in real estate. I can't tell you. I'm doing this day in, day out. And there are professionals working with corporates, and whatever the hard-earned money they are investing, these are small quantums, 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs. I spoke about big numbers of 50 crores and all, but there are many people whom we are helping to park their money on the fractional ownership side. Minimum quantum being 25 lakhs. So there are a lot of these people who are investing and they are getting some good returns also, like I said, 7 to 8%. And that's how you start planning your journey early in the career. So to answer your question, no, there are a lot of individuals, who are investing in real estate.
Okay, sir. So my last question to you is holiday home investment a wise option for a student?
Not for the student, because you rather have something more concrete in the city. But overall, I'll just give you a flavor, that holiday homes till certain, or maybe till 1 year back, were not witnessing that much of a traction. But today, because of work from home concept to a certain extent and all, we are seeing a surge in demand for holiday homes. People anticipate that, maybe they will be allowed to kind of maybe work 1 day from home in a week, or 2 days in a week from home, 3 days from office. If they combine that with the weekends, they could, easily have a holiday home somewhere closer to Mumbai, let's say in Alibag, Mahabaleshwar, Goa, wherever, and people are buying holiday homes. So that trend has picked up recently in the post-pandemic world, not even the post-pandemic world, in the pandemic world, because the pandemic world still continues.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your prestigious time and guiding us. I would like to call upon Miss Sawan to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Miss Sawan.
Parise. I deem it to be a great honor and privilege to express my sincere and heartfelt gratitude. I would like to thank Vishal sir for providing us with his best knowledge and experience in the field of real estate investment. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the viewers for such an overwhelming response. A gentle reminder for tomorrow's session. We have Mr. Sharad Pachisia who will guide us regarding stock market. So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and like our page on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you. Have a great day.